I'm pretty sure I met Warren Beatty at a Hollywood party once. I was 20 years old, and this little bash in Bel Air came right after he made Dick Tracy. I got in because of my great uncle and had a few minute chat with the pro because he asked what books I liked. I told him I liked most everything by Charles Bukowski and Hunter S. Thompson. Beatty was a friend of Thompson's. He sat down in the damp grass, Indian style, with a plate of food in his hand. He was dressed all in black. Witnessing this Tinseltown icon and little brother of Shirley MacLaine work the party, asking everyone who cast a shadow upon him questions about their life, was one of my foremost living moments of pure awe. I also suspected he might have been a little batty. Over the years, I've known people who've dealt with Warren Beatty, and they have no problem facilitating that facade. Even producer Fred Roos, who shares office space with Beatty up on Mulholland Drive, had no problem contributing to the lore of his eccentricities. I don't mean to name drop here, I don't. But my friend Eric knew Fred, and we wrote a script for him that he claimed to like, but never did much with. The only line he gave us hope was, "There's action in the end." There was none. Why does Fred Roos sound like Tom? I'm going to do it like Tom. There's action in the end. There was none. 20 dwarves took turns doing handstands on the carpet. 20 dwarves took turns doing handstands on the carpet. 20 dwarves took turns doing... Barry Levinson's glamorous 1991 gangster epic Bugsy might be the closest we will ever cinematically come to get to know the real pro. It could be argued that his own Bulworth, the last decent film project he was ever a part of, unless you feel like counting Town and Country, was politically, spiritually closer to his essence. But no one portrayed a handsome, Jewish hoodlum with a monumental vision who just so happened to be a complete and total psychotic with greater verve, fashion, and panache than Warren Beatty. It is definitely my all-time favorite performance of his, hands down. It doesn't hurt that he's surrounded by a stellar supporting cast. Are you kidding me? Ben Kingsley, Harvey Keitel, Joe Mantegna, Elliot Gould, Bill Graham, Bebe Neuwirth, and the leading lady who'd wind up staying forever after he brought her home from shooting, Miss Annette Bening, who I don't think has been better since. If Warren and Faye were Bonnie and Clyde, Beatty and Bening were true and tried as Ben Siegel and Virginia Hill. You bought their schemes, you winced when they fought, and you cheered on their filthy, dirty, sexy, dysfunctional love. It was a chemistry explosion, and you knew, no matter the destinies the Nevada desert held, their bond would be obliterated in tragedy. Bugsy is a superior Class A film, but it can be long and plodding at times, I must warn. I do not recommend the version Levinson indulgently tinkered with. Watch the original theatrical cut only. It's hardly a definitive biopic of Siegel. There is so much more story there to tell, but I suggest you drink it in before it gets flung back in your unsuspecting face. Martin Scorsese's Casino came 5 years later, and that was pretty much it for the modern mob classic. Stand up, guys. We appreciate it. No. Until along came David Chase's The Sopranos, I doubt it's ever going to get that good again. By the way, I named the first pug I ever owned Bugsy. He died one Sunday morning on our walk 10 years later. His death destroyed me, but he went out like a gangster. He simply dropped after a decade of raising hell. And that was that.
Wow, Max. Now I'm just thinking about a dead dog.
You guys, if you ever want to read, the best books written about these fuckers are by Biskind, Peter Biskind. He wrote Brando, and he wrote a book called Star about Beatty. Mm-hmm. If you ever want to read a 500-pound book that weighs 500 pounds, but is like, 38,000 pages, and you wind up reading it in a weekend, like, Billy, you did Helter Skelter, right? You read the whole thing in a weekend?
No, I couldn't. No.
Did you bail on Helter Skelter?
I had to put it aside because I got about a quarter of the way through it, and I wanted to finish up the other books I was reading. I
Still
wanted to
not
read
bad.
enough to. I know.
Did you even get into the trial?
No,
Oh.
no. But that's the thing is, I want to devote the proper attention to it because I really get off on that, like police procedural,
Yeah.
courtroom, case assembly, nightmare stuff. You know.
Well, I recommend Peter Biskin's Star about Beatty because he talks to everybody under the sun. And what's so great about Warren Beatty is that everyone is anxious to talk about him. Everyone is anxious to tell you their crazy Warren Beatty story.
So what's the mythology behind Beatty? I don't know too much about the guy. I don't know anything actually. What's the mythology?
Well, the best I can say is from my observations, he's like the Kubrick of screen actors. Seriously, like as far as his inability to complete a project because of his perfectionism is so debilitating.
Mm.
He starts out guns ablazing. He wants to get something off the ground, but then it turns into a series of crazy meetings that kind of go nowhere, and then it just winds up all of these dead properties. And then you've got a guy like Joe's buddy Quentin Tarantino who comes out of the blue and says, "Hey, all right, I want you to play Kill Bill, all right? I want you to play Bill, all right?" And Warren's intrigued and he draws him in, but that relationship like combusted. Like it just didn't work. And who knows what the story was. I think Meetings with Warren would be one of the best documentaries anyone could ever
That's
make.
great.
Wasn't it Beatty? It was either Beatty or Costner. I think it was because you're right. He was for Kill Bill. Beatty was initially cast, and Tarantino he had him. I mean, he was this close to getting him. And they started to talk.
But I don't think Beatty's ego would allow that, Tom, you know?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying because it's so funny you say that because I think it was Beatty. Beatty was doing a scene with Tarantino. I guess they were rehearsing. And Tarantino was telling Beatty, "Hey man, like, you know, why don't you do this character more like Carradine, like David Carradine." Right? And Beatty just said, "Yeah, well, then why don't you just cast David Carradine and left?"
Oh, is that true? Well, if that's true, that's awesome.
Yeah, and just like left the project. He was done. But I mean,
well, he overproduces. He produces things to death.
Right. Well, let's remember. I mean, Beatty is also a director. I mean, he's directed some great films. You know, I mean, he's not just not just a beloved actor, but he has directed some films as well. Reds, right? He did Reds, Max.
Yeah, that was a decade-long project for him.
I bet, man.
You know, and it's so funny because the only way Bugsy happened was James Toback, who is a dear friend of Warren Beatty's.
Uh-huh.
Levinson is sort of like a director for hire on this thing, and
That's
he does
weird.
an amazing job.
Well, it's a good thing that they have Levinson here because Levinson knows how to listen. Levinson knows how to use big stars. I mean, just before Bugsy, I mean, you're talking about a guy that was dealing with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man, Robert Redford in The Natural. I mean, he knows how to get shit done. Barry Levinson, he does. And if there's a guy that a director that could help this film, it's definitely a guy like Barry Levinson. He makes good movies. I mean, for what they're worth, they're really good movies. I mean, Billy, I'm interested to hear what you think about Barry Levinson as a filmmaker.
You know what? I used to be kind of more into his stuff, and he, yeah, I mean, he did Rain Man, right?
Yes,
I think that was the first one. When I was a kid, I kind of like stood up and took notice of what he was doing. But I actually want to ask a little bit more about Warren Beatty because I've never really gotten his acting style. Like there's something I can't put my finger on. Like I don't know if it's just his personality or what. I mean, my favorite performance of his is McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen that one, the Robert
great.
Altman Western, which is an amazing film. But he's also, I mean, I like his 70s stuff. Like, I guess Bonnie and Clyde is 67.
Splendor in the Grass is a fantastic film.
He's a
It's been a
Stella
long
Adler
time since
guy,
I saw
Billy.
that.
He's from the Stella Adler School of Acting.
Gotcha.
My favorite Beatty thing, Billy, is Heaven Can Wait.
Which I Which, when you were assigning religious comedies, I thought that's what I was getting. I was like, heaven can. Oh.
Yeah. No, hell is.
Oh.
But I love Heaven Can Wait. I mean, also he directed Heaven Can Wait, and I love comedies, and that to me is just one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and he's just great in it. But you're right. Let's continue to dig a little deeper into his style, Billy, because he just seems to be the same kind of person on screen.
Yeah, he always seems Warren Beatty in every scene. Like the last movie of his that I saw was a couple years ago, Bulworth, and which I think is a really flawed movie, but kind of brilliant. There's so many good scenes in that movie, I think. But he's him. He has this weird, quirky way of acting that I don't know what's going on there exactly.
And I think that because of because he's like that, I think this movie works perfect for him. This character works perfect for him.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And Levinson gets some serious shit out of him. I mean, there are a couple scenes where I've never seen Warren Beatty so like angry and so like he was frightening in a couple.
That
scenes.
scene where he berates the guy and tells him to be a dog, and Annette Bening is listening on the stairs is like maybe the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, it's amazing, and he's amazing, and just the way Levinson is directing that scene with Benning outside, listening to it, and then he's going back and inside, and she's listening to it outside. I mean, you're right, Billy. It's a really amazing scene, and Beatty is intense. I mean, there are times in this film where he's absolutely intense. I think that he plays the part comedically too. I think you know what I'm saying? Like he gets the humor behind. I think what Toback is trying to do with the Bugsy character is kind of make him laughable, like he's just fucking batty nuts, like Beatty is himself, and it really works.
You guys, Tom and Max in particular. Tom, you actually assigned everything for this show, but Max and Tom, you have to explain to me, what is the allure of the gangster and the gangster picture? Because I don't get it.
Yeah. That's something. I mean,
Max, you're obsessed with this shit.
I am too. I'm with. I'm sure Max and I feel the same way about a lot of these films, especially the ones that have been made, the past 40 years. I mean, at least since The Godfather, anyway. Wow. I mean, I need to think for a few minutes why I'm somewhat obsessed with it. Max, do you have an answer?
Well, it doesn't hurt that my dad was a cop, my stepdad was a cop, and criminology has always been a whole facet of my upbringing.
Right.
And I just, listen, I mean, you've got the finest actors, you've got the finest directors, you have an underworld that, it's a conflict. It's like, it strikes to the heart of the moral code. Could I ever commit these crimes to make life easier for myself? It's so interesting because Tom, over the weekend, I hope you don't mind me saying, Tom, but he has to work a schlubby job that he's not happy with, and he doesn't like working on Sundays. So he sent a group of friends a text about how he doesn't like working on Sundays, and I really felt for the guy. And my thing was, God, I wonder if Tom was in a position where he didn't have to work on Sundays, but he still worked at the same place. In other words, what if it was a shady place? And what if they said, oh, you don't like working on Sundays? No worries. Hey, Tom, let me ask you something. If you didn't have to work on Sundays, but you had to make a couple of deliveries, how would you feel about that?
Right.
Is there like this thing where Tom's like, well, as long as I don't get busted, as long as I don't go to jail, yeah. Would you do it, Tom?
I don't know.
You gotta ask yourself.
But it's funny because now, it makes me, everything becomes more clear to me why I might love these films and why I can relate to them, is because all these characters, for the most part, they start off poor. They start off at the bottom. And I felt like that throughout my whole life, that not just felt, I mean, it's real. I mean, I'm poor and I'm at the bottom. And to watch these, I guess somewhat just ordinary people, these poor people, just have the guts, I guess, to just take what they want. It fascinates me,
Yeah.
It takes a lot of balls. I mean, we have to admit it, whether it's right or wrong. I mean, it's obviously wrong. This behavior is wrong. But, man, it takes a lot of fucking guts. It takes a lot of balls to just say, fuck you, pay me.
Fuck you, pay me.
It does. I mean, and that's I think that's I think that's how I relate to it, and that's why I like it.
But Billy, you're not into The Godfather or Goodfellas, or is it a moral thing?
No. It's a genre thing. Like, I've never really been into gangster pictures in general, but there's examples of it that are stellar. I think Godfather 2. I'm one of those boring people who thinks Godfather 2 is better than the original.
I agree with you on that, Billy. 100%.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a masterpiece of like a character study and like a schizophrenic breakdown, basically.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. You're a huge Star Wars guy. Do you feel like
that I have a reputation? Let me correct you. I have a reputation not entirely deserved.
It's true, Billy. You love it.
But when Han Solo sits down,
shut up! You don't know what you're talking about. You love it.
When Han Solo sits down with that Greedo,
yeah,
that's a gangster scene.
Absolutely,
that's a gangster part. That's gangster shit going on there on what is that, Tatooine? That's gangster shit going on there.
Max, are you okay? First off, we have wandered off into a backwater of discussion here that is completely ridiculous because it's based on a false premise to begin with. I can assure you, you don't have to cast any argument or conversation in Star Warsian terms. I am capable of understanding them on their own terms.
Max feels that he needs to.
I would like to thank Gianna for establishing that reputation for me early on.
He's trying to make it like, hey, listen, Billy, you like Star Wars. You must love the scene with Greedo and Han Solo. So you do like gangster movies.
I'm just gonna compare it to your favorite movie. Is that okay? Let's try that.
Why do I talk like that?
There's listen, man, Goodfellas is friggin' amazing, I like Casino. Actually, I think Casino is brilliant. There's pieces of the gangster mythology that I like, but they're individual films, and I'm talking about, like, you guys love the genre, the way some people love westerns, the way, the whole mythology of it, the suits, the rings, the chains, the cars, the women in furs and all that stuff. Like, it's not something I've ever really, it's never appealed to me, And also, I think I have a problem with the formula of the gangster picture, because it's always the same formula as the biopic, which is that nobody from nowhere rises to the top and then it all goes horribly awry. It's like the drug movie, the superstar biopic, and the gangster film all have the exact same formula.
Yeah, they rise up, they defeat the person that's in charge. They become in charge, and because their own, because they're getting fat, they go down.
Yeah, and the brilliant thing about a director like Scorsese is that he grabs the cliches by the balls and then just does crazy shit with them. Like the Joe Pesci's narration in Casino. The fact that in Casino everyone gets to narrate the film is right. And the fact that Joe Pesci basically starts off the movie saying we were doing fantastic until everybody fucked it up. Like that's how the movie starts, right? So he finds ways to twist the cliches, and but in general, no. I don't know, Joe, I know you've got about a bajillion things to say on the
Joe's
topic.
with us tonight too. Oh, I forgot.
Hi guys. To me the gangster movie is really quintessentially American, just for what Tom and Max were hitting on. It was really interesting to hear you guys talking about it and really find what a lot of these books are talking about, is that it's about, like, the allure of the gangster came, at least in pop culture, with the newspapers and everything during, in the wake of Prohibition during the Depression, where, these immigrants
celebrity and
people were looking for escapism and looking for heroes, and it's the modern American hero in a sense, where these guys are from the streets and they're ethnic, and they come over and it's the land of opportunity, and they come over here and they can't exactly get things the way they want because the governments are in corruption, so they see the hypocrisy in that, and then they play the same fucking game as the governments, and they go and they extort and exploit everybody around them to get what they want, and they take what they want. So it's an underdog story, which is so American, because you always have these influx of people from all these poor countries coming over here with all these dreams, and then it's almost like this sort of tragic dream where you can achieve your dream, but only at the cost of sacrificing your ethics and your values, of what might be right. And it's just there's a lot of allure in that, and especially during rough times when people had nothing, they look and they're cheering on these guys who went and they go and make a friggin' life of themselves the only way they can, by scratching and clawing, and by the way, selling them booze when nobody else would sell them booze.
They wanted,
and wars and all that stuff.
You're right. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, just look at in the '90s when or the '80s when Gotti, when he rose to power in the Gambino crime family in New York. I mean, he became like a local hero, a folk hero. Really, I mean, people adored this man. You know why? I mean, because he was beating the government.
Yeah.
Well, then I get the feeling like I kind of am starting to wrap my head around it a little bit. But governments are when you're talking about organization of any kind, most organizations find a way to be corrupt at some point, and many of them start from that premise and then legitimize themselves from there. So it's like a bunch of crime syndicates basically started as protection rackets in small neighborhoods and stuff like that, where no one would protect people, right?
Yes.
I mean, it was where there was a power vacuum, the local, power ordered itself,
Yeah.
am I seeing that correct?
Yeah. Well, it's offering protection, and, it's a weapon, and it's a source of empowerment, man. The gang's a source of empowerment. So, for these disenfranchised immigrants off the boat or whatever, it becomes a way of getting the power that they were promised or that they're seeking, or anybody or had the good old American gusto to go and grab, just like those fucks in Tammany, Bill. You read that,
Yeah, the great stories of them like greeting the immigrants on the docks as they're getting off the boat, and like putting a hot biscuit and a bowl of soup in their hand and saying, "Remember, come voting time, vote Tammany."
There's all this cronyism that springs out of that, and so. By the time the 30s roll around, the movie pictures and everything, Cagney was the friggin' dude, man. I mean,
Right.
But you have these, it's directly related to the subject matter of Bugsy here. I mean, these are actually really real guys here, but Bugsy was a real fucking nutcase who was incredibly good looking, and so was this Virginia Hill and this these other guys. I mean, these are like these are modern myths, folklores, people who rose out from amongst the masses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but don't forget, this was a whole other ethnic set of gangsters.
Right. Yeah,
Group.
which makes it even more interesting, because they were coming in. They were coming.
The Jewish mafia, you mean?
The Jews had to spend a lot of energy. I mean, listen, Godfather 2, you talk about Godfather 2, I mean, that's essentially, Hyman Roth is essentially Meyer Lansky.
Right.
Yeah.
That was
I was
the
thinking
Miami
about
deal.
that when I was watching Bugsy. I was like, there's this great passage. I need to actually read more on this, but Bugsy says, you have to put all your gambling operations in Cuba, which is another country. It's close to Florida, but another country can kick you out any time. If you can own gambling in a state, they can't kick you out. And if you can control the money in a state, you control the state, and you can control politics. You have a shot at actually controlling elections. And I was like, that's Godfather too.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's true. I mean, that's was going on back then, man. I mean, they were actually really looking at Cuba, and Vegas came up. It's all fact. I got this great book. I'll friggin' I'll find it and say it during the next review. But it gives this whole history of these good dudes, and I'm finding this Benjamin Siegel character in there and Virginia Hill, and it's reading almost exactly the way that the movie is portraying
Really?
it.
So there's no doubt that this dude came up with this concept for Las Vegas.
Yeah, well, listen, I don't know if it happened like that.
Bugsy Siegel did not do that.
Yeah,
no.
I don't know if that
There's
that
a
happened,
major character that's actually eliminated from this story, which is sort of unfortunate because it's interesting.
Okay.
But who I can't remember the guy's name, but the Flamingo Hotel and Casino was his idea. He owned it. He was building it.
It might have
and
been
Bugsy Siegel
Costello. It
was
might have been Costello or
no, no, no.
Torrio or something like that.
Johnny
One of those.
Torrio.
I think that might have been one of the dudes involved in it. They were definitely involved in it. They had a stake in it.
But I mean, it's actually a really interesting story because Bugsy, by way of his just force of character, he was just there to sort of help out building this hotel and casino, and bit by bit he seized the reins of the project from the guy who started it, and by the time it was, he basically pushed the guy out, took it over, and it was wildly over cost and all this shit, but he basically forced this other guy out of it, which is pretty interesting. It wasn't his idea.
Billy, is the name you're looking for Billy Wilkerson?
That's the one, Wilkerson.
But I mean, all those details of like Bugsy not wanting to be called Bugsy and his Virginia Hill being like a trollop or whatever. Yeah, these are all things that came directly from the chronicles that these people are doing the histories on and everything. It's really pretty fascinating stuff, man.
Well, he seemed like infatuated with being in the limelight. I mean, hanging around George Raft, he wanted to, from what I read too. I mean, like, that little that screen test thing that he did. I mean, this is something he actually did. Like,
yeah, he evidently the guy was really good looking, and he had like this charm and power over women wherever he went. So that was pretty true. So he had a bit of vanity and narcissism, I guess, going on, and also he was also bug shit crazy, which is I guess how they got his name was
like wanting to assassinate Mussolini.
Yeah, that was great,
dude. That was. I mean, I'm cracking up. Like when he tells Kingsley, when he tells Meyer Lansky, when he's like, once I get back from Italy, with the assassinate, when the assassination plans go through.
Don't ever repeat what you just said, Ben.
Yeah. Kingsley's like, what assassination? He goes, the assassination of Mussolini.
Hey, Tom, let me ask you something. Tom, are you smoking?
Right this second? Or in general? Where is this coming from?
Yeah,
hey, Tom, when
I'm
did
not
you light up that
dots.
last cancer stick you're putting in your fucking mouth?
About an hour ago.
About an hour ago?
Before we recorded.
How come I heard a flick about 5 minutes ago?
I'm sorry, I have 2 bottle caps in my hand.
Bottle caps?
Yeah,
what the fuck you talking bottle caps?
I have
what the
2
fuck are you
bottle
talking about?
Caps. I have 2 of them.
Why do you have bottle caps in your fucking hands? I don't understand something, Tom. You're kind of shady. You're slipping over here, you're slipping over there, but you're not being fucking honest.
Hey,
what's he not being honest
Yeah,
about?
who are you to tell me I'm not being honest?
Oh, yeah? What, you getting wise with me now? You getting fresh?
I'm getting wise with you.
Where's your dad?
In the hospital.
Okay, wait a second. What are you talking about? Why is your father in the hospital, Tom?
Because he had a kidney stone operation and it went sour and his body began to swell and bloat and his groin area. I can't believe I'm talking about this. Like his nutsack, it's expanding.
Listen to me very carefully.
What?
This is a wake-up call for you. This is a guy who is your genes. This is a guy who is living with you. This is a guy who, dare I say, you may not want there or you want there. I don't know. But this is a wake-up call, isn't it? Do you have to go visit him in the hospital?
Yeah.
Do you do it out of obligation or do you do it because you want to be there?
Well, I mean, you go because, he's your father, I mean.
That's obligation. You don't want to go, but you go because he's your dad.
Yeah, but Max, listen, I'm telling you right now, I'm having a really good time talking about Bugsy and talking about Gangsters and talking about Warren Beatty and talking about Barry Levinson.
Away from.
I'm having a blast doing this, and you
motherfucker, you
come out of nowhere.
You come out of nowhere with this deep shit, you.
It's not deep. Stop.
I'm telling you, Tom, I heard a flick. It sounded like a lighter going off.
It's 2 bottle caps. Listen, I have them right here in my hand. Look. Here. I was taking it and going like, here. Everybody, listen. Ah,
That's the sound.
yeah. See,
What are you doing with the bottle caps? I don't get it.
I'm just they're
Who
in my
flicks
hands
bottle caps in their
because
fingers?
it's just
I don't
nervous
get it,
energy.
Tom.
I do it, and if you got a problem with it, then you can see me.
Do it again. Make the sound.
Oh, jeez, Louise, Joe, please help me.
I know, Tom. Listen, Max, you got to take it easy on Tom today. I think it's probably best that you just. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm taking it easy, but I don't understand how anyone makes that sound with bottle caps.
Well, you can,
Okay, I'm not allowed to ask. I didn't know there were rules. Let me tell you something. I've lost.
Tom,
friends.
listen, I know Tom's feeling a little fragile today. Let's just say, can I say that, Tom? Is that bad to say?
Well, you just did.
I know, I just.
I didn't get the minutes.
I know, and
I didn't get the memo. I didn't get the private.
I didn't want there to be a memo.
I
No
didn't know
memos.
Tom's dad was in a hospital. Tom, let me tell you something. You're gonna come over. You're gonna talk to me. We're gonna sit down, a couple of men. We're gonna have some. What is that flicking?
That's
You're
it.
doing
It's the bottle
the bottle
caps.
caps.
See?
Jesus.
All right, listen. I want to talk to
But
Billy and
you
Joe
don't-
quickly because Jean-Luc Godard was obsessed with the story of Siegel, and he planned. He did plan to make a movie about Bugsy Siegel.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and from what I read,
God knows what that would have been. It wasn't in Breathless. It probably was something like Breathless. Huh?
Yeah, he was thinking about using. I don't know about Breathless.
Jean-Paul Belmondo.
No, he was Robert De Niro.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, but it never happened. But he did write a screenplay,
Huh.
and it just
Jesus.
This is all very interesting. Can I ask a question, Tom? What bottle caps are those? Which bottles are those caps attached to? What are you drinking?
Poland Spring water. Is
So
that
you're
all right?
drinking water. You're not having alcohol.
No,
It's okay if you are.
I know it's okay. I never drink during the show.
No, you mentioned that. I was just curious. I've never heard flicking of bottle caps before. Anyway, back to Jean-Luc Godard's failed attempt at the Bugsy Siegel.
That is, but I do find that interesting. I know that Max was ready to tear his
Of
eyes
course
out.
you do. You've got your panties around your ankles right now.
That's actually pretty fascinating to me because God knows what that would be. Because I know the Godard was fascinated with gangster films, but he was doing like what Tarantino was doing 30 years later, except he was doing it times 10 back then, like just ripping apart the genre for the genre itself. And I'd be fascinated to know what the hell was going on with that script that he wrote. I mean, Alphaville was a gangster movie. Breathless was a gangster movie. What the fuck? Could he actually put De Niro in a gangster movie? What? Tom, what else do you know about that?
Very little. I mean, it was just something I picked up on IMDb. It wasn't. I mean, there wasn't too much information from what I remember, but it was. I remember it. I mean, I remember it catching my eye, and I wanted to bring it up because I know that's something that you and Billy would probably be.
Yeah, I gotta look into.
Godard's still alive?
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah, he gets and most of his movies are reviled anymore. He does these weird like mix of video and he makes these really abstract films that everyone hates. Even Europeans hate.
Do you hate him?
I've never liked Godard. I think he's a phony.
And Joe?
I mean, yeah.
I'm always interested to see what he's doing because as much as I hated that last picture of his, it's still like, oh, well, that was pretty interesting. Listen, Mondrian was obviously a painter, and Kandinsky when they started making paintings.
Max, listen to what I
Mondrian.
Max,
was
but that's exactly
Max, do you realize what I just?
Look, what can you
I've
say?
never heard of Mondrian.
You guys ask me about Godard, I start giving you
And
the
the
answer.
only reason I know about Kandinsky
Yeah, fuck you.
was from 6 Degrees of Separation.
Yeah, I can't watch most of his stuff, man. But I do review. I respect someone who's willing to tear apart the genre and just tear it down the same way that Mondrian put Fields of Red and Blue. I know.
Joe, you're being a little Mad Magazine satire of yourself right now.
I know, but I'm trying. Well, it's just because you guys are uncomfortable with the
Modrian.
You asked the topic. You asked the
didn't ask
question.
anything
You're
about
uncomfortable with the
Modrian.
topic, and then you make fun of me for answering it. Seriously. It's
Hey,
not
does
fair.
anybody
Listen,
know
guys,
anything about James Toback, the guy who wrote Bugsy? Does anybody
He's out
know?
of his mind, and there's a new HBO documentary he made with
Right.
Alec Baldwin about trying to get a film into the Cannes Film Festival that I have not seen.
Right. I saw the last 40 minutes of that movie the other night. It was on HBO.
Can you watch the last 40?
I know, because they were talking. There was an interview going on, and I was just surfing, and I came across it, and I left it on. I know,
Yeah,
Max.
Tom, in that instance, you stop.
I
You
know. I
have TV.
couldn't help myself.
No,
It was-
you stop. No, but you should have the impulse to
I
stop.
know I should.
Go to your search engine, find the title of the film, and start.
I probably could have just went to HBO on demand and started it. I know.
Dude, I went to see The Counselor the other night, and every freaking trailer that they show in these movie theaters now show you the whole fucking movie, start to finish.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can't take it,
Yeah.
man. And then I saw
Yeah.
the new David O. Russell trailer came on, and I look at my wife. I was like, God damn it, I want to see this movie. I don't want to look at this trailer. I'm sitting in a movie theater with a 100-foot screen in front of me with my eyes closed and my
Yeah.
friggin' ears shut.
Guys, it's
trying not
like
to-
trailers are not fun anymore.
It's dude, the whole
They're
experience
not
sucks.
teasers they give away. I saw a trailer that revealed a death.
I know, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Man.
I actually I knew nothing about The Counselor before going to see it, and all of a sudden I just heard there was Ridley Scott directing Cormac McCarthy's original screenplay. I was like, where the fuck did this come from? And I started to watch the trailer. Like 25 seconds in, I turned it off. I was like, I sold. I don't need to see the fucking trailer.
And
'cause
that's
it's
a
gonna
movie.
tell me-
That's a trailer that, from what I understand, they didn't even give away a lot. But dude, it's just the whole movie going experience. I walked out of the movie theater the other day, Billy. I was yelling. I was screaming.
Wow.
I
Why?
was screaming, Tom.
Because they give everything away. It's just
Listen.
Well, you walked after. Hold on a second.
Here.
You sit through the trailers. You're annoyed at the trailers. Obviously, intensely annoyed at the trailers and what they're doing.
Let me
You
tell you.
watch. Hold on. You watch the film, and then you still walk out of the movie theater and you're screaming about the.
Yeah, let me tell you what it's like
he's
going to see.
covering the experience.
Let me tell you what it's like for the future. Someone who might be hearing this, I don't know, 100 years. Here's what it's like to go to the movies in America in 2013. You pull into a fucking mall that is so crowded, you have to walk like 500 yards away. And you go in there, and every fucking moron is with these 3D glasses, whatever. You pay an exorbitant amount of money to go in there. You get into the movie theater 10 minutes early, and you go to a movie like The Counselor that's, I guess sort of literate or whatever. And the only people who are there are people who didn't get into the sold out viewing of whatever stupid shithead movie was playing next door. And so you sit there for 20 minutes, they show you commercials. You paid a ticket, and then they show you commercials for 20 minutes.
Right.
And then when the movie's supposed to start, they show you more commercials for other movies. And those commercials, even if they're movies that you might want to pay for down the road, they show you every fucking thing as if, and nobody in that theater could ever go to a movie without knowing it's okay. Don't worry. Here's the part. Here's our hero. He's just like every other hero in every other movie, but slightly different. But don't worry, it gets really dangerous and scary toward the middle. But here's the part at the end where he faces it, and it's going to be all right. So you sit through that for 20 fucking minutes, even if it's a movie that you might have possibly have wanted to see at some point. And then you sit through a movie written by possibly the greatest American writer living today. And 20 minutes into it, because they're using big words or they're talking, sort of philosophically, people are squirming in their seats and looking into their telephones. Then people start yelling out in the theater, "This movie sucks." And then people start walking out. This is a movie written by
What? Are you serious?
the greatest American writers probably ever to live. And you know what? Maybe the film is slightly self-indulgent. Maybe you know what? You give the guy who wrote The Road and the guy who wrote No Country for Old Men, you give them a little latitude.
Right, and the guy that directed Alien.
Guy who you know what? You give them a little bit of latitude. You sit down there and you see what they want to offer you, because maybe it's not the same old canned bullshit that you're used to seeing, and then you go into the bathroom after the movie, after everybody fucking and there's two old guys in the friggin' I don't even know what the fuck that movie was about. You didn't even know that he was involved in a drug deal until the very end. And they watched this movie for for 2 hours and not know what it's about. And I walk out of there and I wanted to Tom, I wanted to run into traffic and fucking kill myself.
I don't blame you.
Joe,
let's just derail it. Let's just do a counselor review, Joe. Let's just do it right now in the middle of this episode.
I can't review that movie because I could not see.
You're too angered by the experience.
See through the appalling behavior of my fellow Americans that were sitting around me.
Joe, what brand of theater do you patronize?
Look, usually I go to the smaller theater that's closer to my house, but I had a gift certificate for this AMC, which is one of these gigantic,
So that's the one you and I went to see the
that one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was, dude. I feel your pain. I have had so many experiences like that. I was lucky that did not happen on my viewing of The Counselor. It was almost the same sort of crowd where it was pretty like, hey, Ender's Game and Jackass is sold out, so I guess we'll go see this other one over here. It's got Brad Pitt, I hear, and they loved it. Like,
well, you live in the city.
There were about, but it was a pretty like suburban or blue collar crowd. Like, it wasn't. There was definitely a handful of people in there who had read and knew Cormac McCarthy and all that stuff, but there were a lot of people there who were not. They'd never heard of Cormac McCarthy. They had no idea what a screenwriter was, but they loved it. And there were a bunch of people who were squirmy and bored and whatever. But it was a really it was a fun, positive experience. It sounds
like you had just a really bad case of severe bad luck where, for some reason or another, the universe decided to put like 20 Philistines into this idiotic mall movie theater.
Look, I will say that it might not. Listen, I can't even.
You have to sit through a half hour of bullshit flashing in front of your eyeballs. Like, I have literally, there have been times I'm not in the mood for it. I bring a book and headphones, and I hold the book up in front of my face and continue to read, listening to my headphones while I have.
I could only beg that I wish when I went to the movie theater I could see somebody do it. Why haven't I seen that?
It's insulting. Clockwork Orange came true. They nail your eyelids open and they force you to watch garbage. Yeah. They like they're shoving raw sewage down your gullet.
Stop it! It's a sin.
Most people, man, they suffer from ADD, Joe. They don't.
And people
they forget about what trailers they just saw anyway.
And they're like watching shitty commercials and saying, "Oh, I don't like Miley Cyrus. I think she's, that's indecent." Like, who fucking cares about anything that is on that screen? No one cares. It's total meaningless nonsense. It's like ingesting saran.
There was a commercial about a camel that walks through the movie theater and tells people to shut their cell phones off or something. And the people next to me, you would think it was the funniest fucking thing that was ever written in the whole world. And you know what? I just want, we almost did a mini episode on this, Counselor. I don't know. And I was going to write, like, not a review of the movie because I know Billy did that, but I was going to write an open letter to movies. And I was going to tell them why they're destroying, like, all the things that I just said, they're destroying themselves and they can't help it. They can't, like, they are destroying something that I love. They're destroying the act of movies and they can't stop themselves. Like, why would I just want to? I like Caligula. I wish that Hollywood had a collective neck so I could ring it.
I don't know what that means, but I like that you brought Caligula into it. Where is that phrase from?
Caligula said it. He says, if only all of Rome had one collective neck. So either I don't know, Max, you probably know. Either I could ring it or cut it or something like that.
That's awesome.
Well, I tried to do the Caligula show, but look what happened.
I'm sorry I derailed you, Tom, but I did get it off of you.
No, it's interesting, and I'm like, because I've been experiencing like so much disconnect from, and I was talking to you earlier, before the show, about how like, you know, I go to work and I'm just surrounded by people half my age, and they have I can't take it anymore. Like they have no respect, no couth, no thought, no independency. They're just horrible people.
But Tom, these weren't even people half my age. The people sitting on the other side of Susie.
Yeah, but they have
were
to be
older people, and these people were talking throughout the whole fucking movie. You know what they were talking about? Oh, look at Cameron Diaz's pants in this scene.
Really? People our age or older?
Jesus, older than us.
Listen. The only guy whose cell phone went off as the movie. Listen, a cell phone went off 10 minutes from the end of the movie, and it was a woman 40 years old. The cell phone went off at the beginning of the movie, 10 minutes in. It was a 50-year-old guy in front of me. Like the bad behavior is
it's appalling.
Is running rampant in this fucking theater culture. It's awful.
It's a
fucking
empire of spoiled brats.
I know what you guys are saying, because I'm very particular when I go to a movie theater. I have to sit in a particular spot. I don't want to be around people. I'm almost having a panic attack, like leading up to going to the movie theater, because I'm just worrying about some jackass that's just going to ruin my experience, even before I leave the house. Like, I'm already thinking about it. I'm already nervous about it. I get there. I'm like looking like to my left, looking to my right, looking behind me, just, you know, trying to find like the slightest thing that's gonna like set me off. And it's
I have warned every girlfriend I've ever had, every friend I've ever made. I said, look, if you're gonna go to the movies with me, I am a movie Nazi. I go there 45 minutes early. I find the right seat. I sit down.
Yeah.
I don't reading a book, or if I'm with a friend, we'll sit and chat, whatever. But we're finding the right seats, and we're establishing our primacy in that section of the theater. So if there's anyone who even acts like an asshole, I will give them a dirty look and make them move.
Right.
I do.
Right.
Care.
I'm with you, dude.
I paid $14 fucking to get into the movie.
Yeah,
game.
but it's even beyond just the money you're throwing down. It's way beyond that.
This is like a sacred venture for me. I don't go to church. I go to the movie theater.
Right.
So you shut up and behave yourself in my temple.
And it doesn't have, they don't have to have, exactly. It's common courtesy. And they don't have to have the same feeling that we do about going to the movie theater, but you're in a public place where you're watching something that you need to pay attention to. And nobody seems to have any respect for the people that are around them. And it's bizarre. It's fucking bizarre. I mean, one of the weirdest things I ever heard was it was like the second or third time I went to see The Dark Knight, and I'm like sitting in my seat, and this couple like 2 or 3 rows behind me, the girl goes, like, how long is this like movie? And the guy goes, well, it's over 2 hours. And she's like, I don't have to sit here like for 2 hours and watch this movie. Like, what are you fucking doing there? Like, you know, and the guy, why is the guy dragging the girl there? Go to the fucking movie. I go to the movie theater by myself, even when I have a girlfriend. I'll go by myself. As a matter of fact, I enjoy the experience better when I go by myself. I do.
Listen, that said, though, I mean, certain movies are fine with an obnoxious crowd. Like, I don't I don't mind that, but
you don't go to Kill Bill and expect everyone to go shh.
Yeah, or the Jackass.
If I was going to see
movies
Caddyshack or The Hangover, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
It's just it's very sad to me. I wish people would behave better. Courtesy, man. Jesus.
Hey man, for what it's worth, man, come into the city once in a while. We'll go to a movie.
I do. Well, I try to go into the city, Billy, and you take me. I go in. I'm like, oh, we'll have a nice night. You know, be quiet. You know, we'll go. You know, my wife and I, Billy and his girlfriend, we'll go to get a dinner or whatever. We'll go and see a movie. We'll go see a show, something like that. We end up in bars until 4 o'clock in the morning and burlesque shows.
Yeah. Burlesque shows. Have you asked people to be quiet at the burlesque show?
Yeah, I was trying to concentrate.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, he had sore neck muscles after a certain point.
Oh, man. Well, yes, folks, we are talking about Bugsy, directed from 1991. Hey, guys, anything else about Levinson, about Toback, Batty, Bugsy? I'm open right now for business. Do you guys want to add anything else to this movie? I'll take
Well,
that
I
as
was
a
going
no.
to ask a question when you guys had your epic long 80-minute discussion about theaters and didn't ask what I thought.
Oh.
Go ahead,
No,
Max.
no, you guys talk.
Max, why have you switched your Skype picture to a woman's ass?
Did he really?
Yeah.
I got to see this. Oh
So-
my god!
That is a very nice pair of cotton panties too.
Yes.
Now whose
So,
ass? Whose ass?
Whose ass is
That's
that?
a nice ass, Max.
Listen, I have a lot of women in my life who facilitate my needs. Let me ask you guys a question. When
Sure.
you go to the theater, are you aisle guys? Are you in the middle of the theater guys? What's going on? Seat-wise.
6 row. I know mine is 6 rows, dead center. 6 rows up, dead center. And nobody's usually around that area because everybody likes to go to the back. So I'm usually pretty safe.
I try to aim for dead center, a little bit further back than that.
I'm a little closer than dead center.
You guys are awesome because this is the difference between us. I cannot sit in the middle. I have to be on the aisle.
Why?
I have to have an escape.
You don't like to be surrounded by stinky, germ-filled human
That
beings.
is correct.
Is that why? And now you have the aisle seat, and then your wife has the next one.
I have the aisle seat in everything. If my
Like
wife
if someone
wants-
farts, you have to leave the theater, don't you?
Yes, I have to physically expel myself from the room. And,
Are you a genuine germaphobe, or
I think it's gotten a little worse. Put it this way: Albertsons is a supermarket where they
I know
provide wipes for the carts, and
Yeah.
I get very excited because I roll the cart up.
spend 25 minutes outside wiping it down before you ever
Right.
get in the store?
And it was actually yesterday where I went to Albertsons with my wife. She never comes shopping with me, but I'm like, we have to pick up a few things. And I go up to
What
the
is
wipe.
Albertsons?
It's a supermarket, Tom.
It's-
So I roll up to the wipes distribution center and the fucking tub of wipes. I know, Tom, you don't understand this because you're mired in filth. So
No, hold on. How dare? What do you mean I'm mired in filth?
you're laughing at me, Tom, because I like
Don't
to
you
wipe
dare.
down.
Who are you to
filth.
say that I'm mired in filth?
surrounded by bottle caps and whatnot.
There's 2
You're over
bottles.
there flipping caps and living the dream, and I am trying to avoid 30,000 hands touching the rim of a cart.
Mired in filth.
Well,
Filth and library books, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom, when you go to the market, you don't wipe down the cart?
Max, is there any place in the world naturally existing, naturally occurring, a desert canyon, the beach, that you find naturally soothing and relaxing and free of paranoid fantasies about germs?
That's a leading question. I mean, is it? I mean,
No, that's a genuine question. Is there because the natural world is swarming with filth. So is there any place you actually feel comfortable in that is not man-made?
Cayucas, California.
Really? That's high desert, right?
No, that is the Central Coast, my friend. That is a seaside town. The salts from the sea purify everything.
So you feel like the sea salty air is the most lovely, purifying
It's the
thing.
most cleansing, spiritually and physically. Yes, I do feel that. How can Tom not wipe down a cart handle when he goes to the market?
I don't. Do you, Joe?
no.
I
Listen,
do.
I have an idea for a movie. Max goes on a vacation with his wife to the Central Coast, and Tom shows up wherever he is, and just
I
demand.
want to make
Yeah.
movies
I
with
just-
Tom.
Mired
just-
in
listen,
filth.
Max, I'm really down on my luck. Can I just stay with you for one night?
Planes, trains, and automobiles too.
That would be the
Oh, jeez.
fucking thing.
All right, can we go back to Jean-Luc Godard for a second?
It's like an hour ago.
No, but you bulldozed
Max, is
over
this-
and didn't ask
is this-
what I thought.
About Godard?
Yeah, because it's very interesting because Billy brought up the fact that he makes homemade kind of video kind of bullshit movies now. And I know we're not on a Lynch kick and we've never talked Lynch really on this show, but Inland Empire to me is quite extraordinary and it was made for nothing on video. And now I just wanted to know really quickly what you guys thought of a guy like David Lynch who is living life we can tie this into Bugsy because Warren Beatty sort of bailed out of the whole Hollywood system, but Lynch also decided, you know what? I'm gonna make CDs, and he has made 2 records of music.
Crazy Clown Time.
Thank you. And I love these records, and I bought them and I listened to them daily. But he doesn't make movies anymore. And the last film he made was a film that Billy was describing, a film that is very cheap, and he's making it with video cameras. I just want to know what you guys thought of that ethic where you bail out of the biz and do what you want, I guess, because Lynch has always been a guy who's wanted to make music.
Listen, well, I'll quick answer. I just think the whole system is hemorrhaging. Like the whole Hollywood system is hemorrhaging out of control, and I look at the distribution systems that are in place right now, and it's pathetic. Like there's just these old farts who are keeping progress back, and they're shooting themselves in the foot as bad as the theaters are shooting themselves in the foot by annoying their patrons. The distribution systems are 20 years old. They're still trying to treat like the internet as if it's they protested the VHS, they protest the internet. It's like they just adapt, man. So I just think the whole direction for the next I think we're kind of like back in the late 60s, early 70s period where small films are just going to be the rage. They can't keep up. Like if you listen even to Hollywood people talk about the whole system of blockbusters and comic book movie adaptations and everything, it's a totally unsustainable system that's going to collapse in on itself. And Soderbergh has a great rant about that. So I think it's great. I think everyone's
so when it does,
everyone's going to Kickstarter. Fucking right. Everyone is doing everything on Kickstarter now.
But that's not good either, because now you have Spike Lee on Kickstarter. Now
I think Kickstarter is bullshit. I don't really like it. I'm just saying that that's what's happening, because everyone.
Wait a second. Joe and Tom went on Kickstarter.
Okay, yeah, but who cares about that?
I'll support it because I'll go along with it, but I think that it also is a system doomed to fail in the long run. Right. But it is the paradigm for now. So
yeah, but what sucks is that like guys like Joe should be using Kickstarter, but now you have, Spike Lee uses it, and countless other major directors are now using it to get their own films.
Zach
why
Braff
did you
got a lot
say
of
who
flack.
cares about it, Tom? Why did you say who cares about it?
Well, because we're not talking about what
We're talking about Kickstarter, and you and Joe went on Kickstarter to raise money for Joe's movie, and you based a podcast off of going on Kickstarter.
We did.
So why are you saying who cares about it?
I don't know. Joe, why is he trying to start a fight with me tonight?
I don't know, Tom. Can we go to the next movie? Jesus Christ, we've been talking for an hour about Bugsy.
Max, is this ass picture that you're showing us? Is this the girl that was in your Halloween special that you spanked?
She's another chick, but I can't talk about it because we're recording.
Well, who is this chick?
Have you spanked her ass?
Spanked it? No.
No. Have you licked it? It's a perfectly legitimate question. Yes or no answer.
He asks these questions like as if he's in a kangaroo court on acid. But we ask him who the ass is, he gets silent.
Yeah.
Tom, can we go on to the next movie before it's midnight?
Hey guys, it's not even. It's early, Joe. First of all, take it easy. I'm really monitoring the time. Hold on. But yes, we will move on to the next movie. It's 2008's Gomorrah from Italy. Joe Christiana is going to give you the introduction. Joe, let's move on.